Okay, good morning everyone and welcome back to the class. Today is our last class in terms of completing the syllabus, and the topic that we are doing today is channel management. So a quick recap of what we've done till now. Yes, we completed sales management and we came to distribution management. In distribution management, we learned why we need distribution channels, what are the discrepancies they take care of, what are the flows they take care of, how do they help in getting the right product at the right time, at the right price to our customers. We understood with an example where we took two very contrasting products, a car and a soap, to understand that how do the foundation remains the same, the fundamentals remain the same when we implement it, how the distribution system looks entirely different for a car versus how it looks for a soap. We went ahead and we discussed logistics management, and that there are three things about a logistics management: inventory, warehouse, and transportation. In the warehouse, we saw that how in a warehouse it is important that we share information, the movement, the storage. We also discussed that how the decision regarding whether we should have a private warehouse or a public warehouse depends on various factors. Then we went ahead with inventory, and in inventory we discussed about EOQ, or economic order quantity. We derived the formula and we tried to understand the importance of having inventory, which is not more, which is not less, which is just enough. The third thing was transportation, and when we discussed transportation, we saw that how in our country the contribution of transportation in logistics management is still very high, and which reflects on the price that the customer has to pay, which reduces our price competitiveness, and therefore that is one area we need to work on. We especially need to work on because our dependence on road transport is very, very high. And we can work on it because India is a country which is blessed with various natural resources or the various kinds of landscapes. So if we are talking about water, we are a country blessed with rivers throughout the length and breadth of the country. However, we are not using waterways. Airways can never be the main focus because it is so expensive. So transportation, even railways, though we have the fourth largest network in the country, the importance given to cargo in railways is not to the extent it should be, and therefore the companies are not using it to the extent they should. So transportation is one area where most probably our country needs to work on, and we can. We can because we have the resources, we have the infrastructure. It's just that it needs more focus, and we saw it through case studies in the economic survey. We come to the final topic, which is channel management. So up till now, what we have been discussing is how the distribution system or the management works. But finally, who makes it work? So we may have the best technology. Yes, we have given so much importance to technology, and as all of us can see, that it's technology which is running the distribution and the supply chain today. But who manages that technology? It's human beings. It's our team. It's our people. And therefore, we may have the best technology, but if your team is not there with you, it's useless. You can never, ever undermine the importance of people. You should never, ever undermine that how important it is to take care of your team. And when I'm talking about team in terms of channel management, I'm talking about not just your employees, I'm talking about all your channel members, your wholesaler, your distributor, your retailer, all your channel members. Because please understand that if your retailer will not showcase your product, then you may have the best technology, you may have made beautiful ads and everything, but if your product is not visible correctly to the customer when he or she walks into that retail outlet, there goes all your efforts. So you need to take your team members with you, and you need to manage them. And how do we do that? That is something which we are going to discuss today. And if you ask me, this is one of the most important topic, because you can never ever replace the importance of people. If you want to run a successful company, you have to manage people, people, and people. So relationships can be of two kinds, transactional and relational. So what is transactional? It's a one-time relationship. We buy, make the payment, and that's it. However, that's not what businesses are looking forward to now. We are not talking about transactional relationships anymore. We want relationships that survive over a period of time. And if a relationship has to survive over a period of time, then we need to understand that why is it that some relationships survive for such a long period, and while some relationships see such a short period of time, and there also it's not a great relationship. So when I'm talking about relationships, there's something called theory of channel control. But before I get into it, to understand any relationship, let's first understand that how do relationships work? And at this point of time, if you don't agree with me, I'll just make a statement. Please unmute yourself and just speak. Any relationship, and think about it. Think about it for the next 5 or 10 seconds. Any relationship in which we are, or which has been successful, and I'm talking about all relationships, personal, professional, anything. A relationship which has survived are those ones where we feel that what we are getting from the relationship is more, or at least equal to what we are giving to that relationship. The moment we feel any relationship that did not survive, please think of all those relationships which did not survive in your life, which failed, which for whatever reasons did not, it's still not alive. You know, one of the reasons, or maybe the more important reason, is when we felt that what we are contributing to that relationship is far more than what the other party is contributing to that relationship. In short, those relationships survive where the contribution made by us is equal to, or this is what we feel. When we feel that what we are getting from the relationship is far more than what we are contributing to the relationship. And if it's not far more, at least it's equal to what we are contributing to the relationship. Well, this is true for all relationships. This is a simple formula which is true for all relationships, personal, professional. So why won't it be true for channel relationships also? So let me put it in a more professional manner. Now, when you look at this, we say that in a relationship, and here I'm talking about two channel members, right? So in a relationship, there are two things working: the tolerance function and the payoff function. Now, before that, also understand what is channel members' profit. When I'm talking about profit, I'm not just talking about quantitative profit. So it is not selling cost minus manufacturing cost. No. Profit is when what we have given is less than what we have received. Simple. So profit is when I feel that I have received something which is more than what we have given. Understand profit that way. So we are talking about profit, both quantitative as well as qualitative. Okay. Now, what is tolerance function and what is payoff function? We say that in a relationship, the channel member will stay in the relationship as long as the channel member feels that what he is getting. So what is this payoff function? Payoff function is what am I getting out of that relationship? As long as the channel member feels that his payoff function is more than the tolerance function. What is tolerance function? Tolerance function is what is it that I have to give up to be in this relationship. So payoff function is what am I getting by being in this relationship, and tolerance function is what is it that I'm giving up to be in this relationship. As long as the payoff function is more than the tolerance function, the relationship is in the zone of acceptance. The relationship is working fine. When the tolerance function starts dominating, then you start hitting a point where we start feeling uneasy. This is the time when necessary action should be taken so that the relationship can come back to the zone of acceptance. If necessary action is not taken and it goes beyond this line, well, then this is the point where conflicts start. This is the point where we start pointing problems, or we start, suddenly the problems become more visible. We start pointing out gaps in that relationship. This is the point where we start cribbing. And which is this point when the tolerance function has started dominating the payoff function. If nothing can be done and the relationship goes beyond this, then there is a conflict. This is the complete conflict zone. And the farther you are, the conflict has hit the higher levels and more difficult it is to make that relationship survive. Right? So if this is how we have to ensure that the relationship always stays in the zone of acceptance, then maybe my next question would be, okay, fine, so I have to ensure that the payoff function is more, but what is it that the channel members want? What is it that will ensure that the payoff function is more? Well, studies show that there are three things which contribute to the payoff function. Incentive program, channel core elements, capability building programs, and incentive programs. But before that, who will give this? Who will contribute? The one who has power, right? Because payoff function is being given off higher by the person, by the business which has power. Which brings us to the next question, that how do we define power? Now you will find many definitions, but the most simplest one, and I'll just show you 2, 3 and help you understand this. It says the power of A over B is equal to and based upon the dependence of B on A. Okay? Now what do we mean by dependence? The dependence of B is directly proportional to B's motivational investment in goals mediated by A. What does it mean? That B is dependent on A, or B feels that A has power only if the goals that B has are the ones that are being provided by A. In very simple language. So if B feels that I want higher margins and A is able to give higher margins, then the goals of B are matching A, and therefore A has power over B. If B gives more emphasis, let's assume B is not interested in higher margins. B is more interested that the brand should be one of the most popular brands, and in order to get that most popular brand, I am okay even if the margins are a little less. But A can give margins, but A is not a popular brand, then the goals of B do not match the goals of A, and in this situation, A has no power over B. Okay? The dependence of B on A is also inversely proportional to the availability of these goals to be outside this relationship. What does it mean? If the goals that B is seeking out are easily available outside this relationship, which means the more option B has, the less B is dependent on A, the less B is dependent on A, the less is the power of A. Right? So if these goals are easily available with other parties also, that means if B has a lot of choice, then the power of A decreases. We say that channel members do not incline naturally towards coordinated behavior, which is very true for us as human beings. Given a choice, you and I, we would love not to have any discipline in our life. We would just do what we want and so on and so forth. I would most probably come to the office when I want and leave when I want. But this lack of natural inclination is not good. Just imagine if everyone would start doing what they want. Yes, freedom is very important, but you have to understand that freedom should be a synonym of responsibility. Freedom does not mean mera jo man aayega main karunga. Freedom means that you are mature. Freedom means that you are ready to be accountable. Freedom means that you are responsible for the actions you take. But unfortunately, that's not how people define freedom. People define freedom by mera jo man aayega main karunga. And the moment that happens, it leads to a lot of problems. And in such a situation, you do need channel power. You need channel power because we say that the person or the authority or the organization has power if they can give you the rewards you want. The authority, the person, the organization has the power if they can give you the punishment which you do not want. They have the power if they have a legitimate right to that behavior. And finally, they have power if they are more knowledgeable or they are expert. So, for a channel member relationship, the channel member feels that you have power, that the other organization has power if they can give the rewards they want. Whatever the rewards the channel members want, and we will see what are the rewards they want. They think they have the power if they can give them the punishment which they do not want, and that punishment can be giving them lesser inventory. Punishment can be most probably asking them to leave the relationship or whatever, something which they do not want. Obviously, legal binding. If you have a contract, then they have power over you. And finally, they may think that the other party has power if they have more expertise, if they have more knowledge about the sector in which we are dealing. In simple language, power comes from 4 sources. You become powerful if you can give reward to the other person, a reward which the other person wants. You can become powerful if you can give punishment to the other person, a punishment which other person does not want. You become powerful if you have the legitimate right to take certain actions over the other person. You become powerful if you are more knowledgeable or you have more expertise in a particular area in which the other person is interested. More the number of ticks, more powerful you are. Look at it again, as I said, this is true for everything. This is true for both personal and professional relationships, right? So that little child who starts crying when the mother says, "Ab main aapse baat nahi karungi." It's because he doesn't want that punishment. He wants mama to talk to him. Yes, when he grows up, he's hardly interested. Oh, great, so you're not talking to me, thank God. Yeah, but that little child of 4 or 5 years, he doesn't want to hear this. Or that little child, he thinks mama has power because mama gives him chocolate, right? So reward, punishment, legitimate right, and finally expertise. Now let's understand, as I said, that what are the things which are rewards for the people, what are the things which are punishment, what we mean by legitimate right and expertise. The first and foremost, channel core elements. Channel core elements are four things: financial returns, quality products, delivery reliability, and reputation of a brand. Look at this diagram. The first is channel core element, right? Then comes capability building programs, and then comes incentive programs. So it's like a pyramid. Please first take care of the channel core elements, then go to capability building programs, and finally incentives. Don't talk about capability building programs without taking care of the channel core elements. Your channel members will not be interested. It's in a way that Maslow's hierarchy. You have to first cross a certain step before you start talking about step number 2 and 3 and 4. So what are the channel elements? Financial returns, quality of the product, delivery reliability, and reputation of a brand. More the number of ticks, the more happy they are. They want financial returns. I mean, you can't expect them to work free for you. So that financial returns, maybe in terms of giving them their due in time, in terms of profit. Let's face the basic fact of life. I mean, which I've said even for your salespeople, salary is not a motivator. Salary is a basic requirement. Today, quality is no longer an accessory. Quality is also a basic requirement, because you and I as consumers, we have become so demanding that even when we buy a pen of 5 rupees, we say, "Bhaiya chalega na," right? Kitne din chalega? So quality is no longer an accessory. Quality is now a basic requirement. Delivery. I mean, we have discussed the importance of warehousing, inventory, and transportation. That really affects the pricing, which in a way means that it really affects the financial returns. And therefore, they are looking at delivery reliability. What does it mean? The delivery should come when it is required, in the quantity it is required, so that we can, so because it is in a way directly linked to financial returns. And finally, reputation of a brand. It's anyone wants to be associated with a brand with a good reputation. It's only if you have taken care of this that then you should go to this and this. So what are capability building programs? A lot of good companies today, whether it is Unilever or Procter & Gamble, what are they doing? They're training the salespeople or the teams of their channel members. They are helping them upgrade their skills. Why? Because, I mean, you would say, why would they do it? Well, they're doing it because when those channel members' teams are skills are upgraded, when they're in tune with the latest, it affects their sales also. So a lot of companies are now investing in capability building programs of their channel members. And then, yes, finally, the incentive programs, which comes at the third level. So if you can give this to your channel members, then we say that you can give a reward which they want. Okay? And this is maybe one of the first ones. This is something which all of them want. This also is in a way expertise also, because when you are training them, you are only able to train them because you have the required expertise, right? So reward and expertise are something which helps in having a good, successful, happy relationship. If we have to use the power of punishments or the power of legitimate rights, we already know that we are hitting that area of conflict. That is why we have to use punishment or we have to use legitimate rights. As long as your relationship only demands rewards and expertise, maybe you are in that happy zone. Okay, so when I'm talking about this, let me also share with you an example of how this power works. So we know that power consists of four sources, which is reward, punishment, legal, and finally expertise. But when do I give reward? When is it punishment? When is it expertise? When? I mean, do I keep giving rewards? So do I keep giving chocolates to the child? No, you are just helping increase the bill of the dentist. Do I keep punishing the child? That one day he will just stand up and say, I'm not interested. Or do you keep telling him what a great person you are? So, I mean, I'm sure we have all gone through it when we have certain people in our life who keep telling us, अरे हम तो ये करते थे, हम तो ऐसा नहीं करते थे, हम तो वैसा नहीं करते थे, till you hit a point and you say, okay, cool, I'm not interested. Because I am I and you are you. So when do I tell the other person that, listen, I'm an expert? When do we use the power of reward? When do we use the power of punishment? How do we balance so that we have a happy relationship? So let's understand it with this example. So what is positive and negative? Positive means you want to be part of the relationship. So the person wants to be part of the relationship. And let me explain this with the example, with the help of SCMS, okay? So SCMS is the organization. Positive is when a student wants to be part of SCMS. Negative is when a student does not want to be part of SCMS. Positive, this is attitude. So this is behavior and this is attitude. Positive is when a student has a positive attitude towards SCMS. Neutral is when they has a neutral attitude, and negative is when he or she has a negative attitude. So look at the first box, this one. The positive, so look at this box. We are talking about the first box. We are talking about, so here what is it? It has a positive attitude. That means the person is part of SCMS and the person has a positive attitude about SCMS. Well, please reinforce this belief. We should really recognize this student. We should really reinforce the student or whoever our stakeholder is. We should help them reinforce this belief because they are part of SCMS and they have a positive attitude, and therefore we should take all action to help them get this thing reinforced that yes, your decision is right. Share information with them. Tell them at regular intervals that they have taken a right decision by telling them that yes, this is what we do, this is what we do, this is what we do, and thank you because you have taken the right decision. Reinforce their belief in the organization. Because you and I as human beings, we want reinforcement. For every decision we take in life, we want someone to tell us that this is the right decision. And so do your stakeholders. Please reinforce their belief. Okay, the next, I'm so sorry. Okay. Yeah, the next one. So this stakeholder is part of SCMS, but he has a neutral attitude towards SCMS. Well, find out the reason. Find out the reason that why he or she has a neutral attitude. Because please understand, when the person is in the neutral attitude, the person can go to negative or the person can go to positive. What has to be our strategy? We should help the person to come to positive. Obviously, please understand, at no point of time in any of my classes have I ever taught you, will never teach you, if your organization is not a good organization or how to sell a bad product, brand, or service. Okay? So this is the best organization, it's the best institute, it is an organization which everyone wants to be part of. This person has a neutral attitude. We as an organization have to help this person come from this box to this box. Okay, so we should help the person to come from this box to this box. But how do we help the person to come from this box to this box? By understanding that why he has a neutral attitude. What are the gaps that we have to fill? Fill those gaps. Fill those gaps and make it comfortable and easy for your stakeholder to move from this to this. Now look at this square. This square, the person is part of the organization, the stakeholder, but he has a negative attitude. Find out why he has a negative attitude. If he has a negative attitude for right reasons, then the organization should take steps to mend those things so that the person can move from this box to this box. But if the person has a negative attitude for not the right reasons, but if the person is just a troublemaker and he has a negative attitude because he only wants to create troubles, well, this is the time when you use your power of punishment or legal expertise. Sorry, legal holding, whatever, legal. This is a time when you use those. Because this is not about moderate rationalization, this is about radical rationalization. This is about questioning, because he's part of the family. After being part of the family, this person is developing, is spreading this negative attitude to other stakeholders, and therefore this is not a time of reward. This is not a time of knowledge. This is not a time of information. This is a time of absolute radical rationalization before this person starts spoiling the other stakeholder also. Okay, now let's look at this. This person is not part of the organization, but he wants to be, he has a very positive attitude. What does it mean? It would be great to have him in the organization, and therefore encourage him to join the organization or the institute. Encourage him by providing him the path, telling him the path, by training him, by telling him how he can apply and so on. Because if this person joins the organization, then he will automatically come to this box. And this is the box which we want to be made the most powerful. Look over here. This person is not yet part of the organization and he has a neutral attitude. Absolutely okay. Maybe he has a neutral attitude. Again, find out why he has a neutral attitude. What are the gaps that we have to fill? What is the information that he's lacking because of which he has a moderate attitude? Neutral attitude. Provide him with that information, have that conversation, and help him to move here or here. Now look at this person. This person, the stakeholder, is not a part of the organization and he is spreading negative things about the company. Who is he? You're not part of the family. You are spreading negative attitudes. This is radical confrontation. This is when you use your power of legal, legitimate, and punishment. Because while this person is part of the family and maybe he's lost way, we need to get him back on track. We have feelings for this person. This is an important person. But this person, you're an outsider. You're an outsider, and from outside, you are trying to spoil the company, the organization, the family. There is no way that he can be forgiven. This is the time when you use your power of punishment, when you use your power, the legitimate power, to have a confrontation and tell this person to get lost. Okay, so look at the various boxes. When I'm talking about, as I said, the aim is that everybody comes here. This is the most powerful box for us. We want people to come here. So we can help this person to come here. We can help this stakeholder to come here. We can help this stakeholder to come here. We will even try for this. We will help this person also to come here and then take him from here to here. But this is a huge, huge question mark. Okay, and therefore, while this needs reward, this also needs reward, expertise, knowledge. This also needs reward, expertise, knowledge. Maybe this also needs reward, expertise, and knowledge. This and this. Think about the powers which you have to use over here, because it is definitely not reward, expertise, or knowledge. And finally, what are the various stages of a channel conflict? So let me quickly tell you about that. As I said, the first stage is the latent stage. So when you hit that line, you start, what is the latent stage? When you suddenly start feeling uncomfortable in the relationship, when you suddenly start pointing faults, when you suddenly start seeing faults in the relationship. Obviously, it was coming, because if you go back over here, so this is somewhere here, latent stage. This is when you start approaching, when suddenly all is not nice and suddenly you think, oh, they didn't do this. You start thinking of all those old things also. At that stage, they didn't do this and so on. Don't worry, latent stage, yes, you have started hitting that area of conflict, but if you take the remedial actions, this is still a stage where the necessary action will help the relationship come back to normal. Affective stages when you don't just feel, but you start talking about it also. So now you are telling the whole world about it, you've started talking about it. This is most probably when you've hit that line, or most probably when you've moved a little beyond that line, but still you can get this relationship also on track provided you take action at the right time. Manifest stage is when we start talking about law, legal, lawyers, and case, and all those things come into picture. And if a relationship hits the manifest stage, very few relationships come back to the normal stage. So as a leader, you should try that your relationship, first of all, never even hits the latent stage. But if it does, it's okay. Maximum, you should allow the relationship to go to the affective stage, because if it hits the manifest stage, that's the time, and most probably that relationship is coming to an end. And unfortunately, it's coming to an end at an ugly note, at a fighting note, at a note when you are throwing all kinds of allegations on the other party. The last slide. So as I said, at the latent stage, most probably you can use the exchange program. What do you mean by exchange program? It is a deputation. So you say, hey, okay, my people will come over and help you. You will depute some people or something like that. Or you use institutions. So we are all part of various institutions. So it may be your all the retailers are part of an organization. So maybe you can go to that organization and still things can be solved. However, if it hits the manifest stage, and as I said, we are talking about arbitration and legal and courts and so on and so forth, which means that the relationship is coming to an end. Last slide. This is the various negotiation strategies, and this is not something which can really be taught in 2 minutes, but just to give you a glimpse. So look at this. This is concern for your own interest, and this is concern for others' interest. What is accommodative? Accommodative is when you have high regard for others' interest, but you have no regard for your own interest. This will work. This will work for a short period of time, because let's be honest, none of us are really those God's gift to mankind, and therefore for a short period of time, maybe we will take this, we will keep the other's interest at a much higher level, and we will not keep at our own interest. But after a period of time, you will feel suffocated in this relationship. You will start feeling that, hey, I am not getting anything out of this relationship, and this will come to an end because you're accommodating too much. Look at this one. So this is when you have no concern for your interest and you have no concern for others' interest. Obviously, there is no relationship. So this will never start. You have very high concern for your own relationship, but you have no concern for others' relationship. Again, this is not a long-lasting relationship. The other person would most probably stay in this relationship till the time he or she has no choice. But the moment he or she has a choice, he will say, get lost. This is a relationship where extremely aggressive, and nobody likes to be in an aggressive relationship. Now, this is a very, very beautiful relationship where you have concern for yourself, you have concern for others. So if you can get this, honestly, this is such a beautiful relationship. This relationship will survive because we are talking about collaboration, we are talking about problem solving. So this is the best if possible. Look at this relationship here, we are somewhere compromising. Maybe this will also survive, but it won't be such a happy relationship as this is. Now look at the problem. The problem is that there are 5 negotiation strategies, but of those 5, there is only one which makes you absolutely thrilled and happy, which is, so if you look at percentage, we're only talking about 20%. That's all. The rest of the relationships may be compromise also, though not really, we don't really encourage it. The rest of the other relationships are accommodative, avoidance, aggressive. They don't survive. So this is how difficult it is to maintain relationships. This is how difficult it is to sustain relationships over a long period of time, personal or professional. And this is how difficult it is even for business people. But then life was never easy. And as leaders, this is what you have to do. You have to work on relationships because, as I said, at the end of the day, the most important thing for me are people, people, and people. Machines can come and go, technology can come and go, technology will come and go, but you need your team, you need your people, you need to respect them, you need to take care of them. If you have to do that, you have to understand that this is one of the most difficult tasks. But you have to build on relationships, and always remember a relationship only survives if we think that what we are getting out of the relationship is far more than what we are contributing to the relationship. At this point of time, let me stop the recording and come back to the class if you're still there, and I will open the house for discussion. So let me stop the recording.